Very pleased that to be joined here at Blogging the Boys by the one and only, the dashing, the debonair. He went to the greatest school in the history of the world and played for the greatest NFL team in the history of the world. It is Darren Woodson. Darren, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Last thing you watched on Netflix. I want to start there.
On Netflix was the
Netflix.
Okay, so we're watching Peaky Blinders right now.
It is a Netflix operation.
Yeah, so I'm one of those guys that I cannot watch a show by myself. My wife, I have to sit down and watch it with her. She can watch as many shows as she wants by herself, but any show that I watch, I has to be right next to her because she's the Netflix police. So there you go.
I fully get that. And if my wife asks, I didn't say this, but she does something that bothers me where we'll be in the middle of something dramatic happening and she'll look it up. And I'm just all, what are you doing? Like what are you doing? And then I see her out of the corner of my eye and I see her reacting like gasping or positive or negative. And I'm like, you're ruining what's supposed to be happening here. But we're not here to do that. We are here, Darren, to discuss something very noble, something you're a part of, the Gear Up Against Cancer campaign. I want to start there. It's a very, again, noble endeavor where you're trying to raise awareness around lung cancer.
Yeah, well, look, for Gear Up, this is something that's dear to my heart because cancer has always been a part of my family's, history over a number of years, whether it be lung cancer or breast cancer. It's always been something that's been a battle for us. And, if you just look at lung cancer, the effects of lung cancer, there's far too many families across our country that are dealing with this. The leading cause of cancer deaths, lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer deaths for men and women across the U.S. and it's just becoming worse and worse. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to join this fight. We always talk about what journey or what organization or what fight do you want to get in that's going to help the community. Well, this is the one. This is the one for me because it's a direct effect, and it has been a direct effect on my family for years.
I've interviewed you in the past, and I know that you don't give your time and energy to things that aren't noble and aren't important to you. And so this, certainly passes that test in that regard. It is in partnership with the NFL Alumni Association and the CDC's Division of Cancer Prevention and Control that have developed this specific campaign. And I think it's wise, obviously, to target NFL fans. There's obviously a lot of males that are a part of that demographic, and lung cancer does, historically, statistically, scientifically impact men more than it does women. And this is an important campaign. We've got links in the description down below for how people can find more information to figure out how to get tested so that they don't find anything out when it's too late and help can't be utilized.
Yeah, and it's about awareness, and that's the main goal for the conversation and why I'm backing this. It's about awareness. It's about going to see the doctor. It's about doing your checkups. It's about knowing what you should eat, what you should not eat, and the awareness part of it is, if we just understand the warning signs to watch, it will make a huge difference in what we do, and that's part of the part of this campaign is bringing that awareness and understanding the educational side of doing the little things, making sure you're watching your health, making sure you're healthy, understanding what smoking can do to your body. Quit. If I'm sitting here today, quit. Just flat out quit. But at the same time, it's just the awareness of what is out there. And there's a ton of programs that are out there that can help you with lung cancer and help you with the fight of lung cancer.
I know that Charles Haley is a part of the campaign as well. And I know you started saying that you had watched the Netflix documentary that chronicled the success that you were a part of, that he was a part of and whatnot. Yeah. And so to shift to the Cowboys, and there's no good segue, and as important as the Cowboys are, they obviously pale in comparison relative to cancer awareness and whatnot. I know we're a few months removed from the documentary's release, and obviously you've spoken about it many different times throughout the course of your life. But what was it like to watch it presented so theatrically and in a Netflix capacity, if that makes sense?
I learned a lot, to be honest. Even though I was in the mix and I was playing, and I came in 1992 as a young rookie, and I came in my first year. We won a Super Bowl championship and back-to-back in '93 and '94, and it was, at that time, it was surreal, but I never understood the business dynamics that were going on behind the scenes. And the show really showed me what Jerry was going through. And I think a lot of this is, we give Jimmy Johnson a lot of credit for what he did for as far as the team and putting the team together, because he did put the team together. Hands down. Jimmy, he drafted, cut guys, brought in free agents. It was Jimmy's personnel. But Jerry never got the credit for what he was doing off the field and the battles that he was dealing with as far as growing the NFL altogether. And, you know, the merchandise, the marketing, the new sponsorship that was coming in. He laid the groundwork for a lot of that. And I didn't see that when I was playing because I was just thinking about the game. But the Netflix story really shed light on how important Jerry Jones was, not just to the Cowboys, but to the entire NFL.
I think that's well said. Jerry's a Hall of Famer for a reason beyond the success you all experienced on the field. His vision, I mean, you could cite a number of different things. As somebody who's covered the Cowboys for my professional career, I was interested at the footage. I had heard from people like you the asthma field story before.
Yeah,
I did not know that there was actual footage of that. That was quite the surprise. And on a tangential but related note, one of my favorite documentaries that exists relative to everything you all were a part of was the America's game that you were a part of, covering the 95 team. And you had a quote in there that I love to reference when I talk about that season. It was when you guys were, and I'm curious if you remember the quote, when you guys were at Philly and you went for it back-to-back fourth downs. You said that Dion said it wasn't fourth and short, it was fourth and something else.
Yeah. We're on a PG show. No, I'm not saying
that. I got the reaction I was going for.
You remember that. That is awesome. That is awesome. And that will forever stick in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it was a horrible individual memory in terms of the game itself. But given the way the season ended and whatnot, it was fantastic. And I just loved that quote when that particular documentary came out. So thank you for giving birth to it.
No, thank you. Thank you.
You mentioned before we started recording that you're at the Star. I know you have an office there. You're a really successful businessman and whatnot. I mentioned I'd interviewed you before, and you spoke then about how you would sometimes see Dak Prescott just running drills or exercising, for lack of a better word, just through your office window. And I'm curious, what's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen? That wasn't like a coordinated or legitimate practice, but something that somebody was doing in the name of, you know, advancing their own athleticism or whatever the case may be.
Oh, out on the field?
Yeah. You were like, this is crazy.
Well, when I played.
Okay, I'd take that answer too.
Yeah. So when I played, it was we had a guy on our team that would now we were a little wild and crazy, and in that team, those teams in the 90s, there were a lot of characters, but we had a guy that we used to run sprints outside. He used to run in his jock strap. And that's it. That was the most. I mean, and it was a joke. He was joking with us, all, you know, when he did it.
Yeah.
But there were 20-some guys out, and I'm telling you, we couldn't even get through the drill. We laughed so hard, we could not get through. It was just, you know, we had a lot of just different personalities, and the laughter and that's what I miss most about the game. I don't miss so much the game itself, but I do miss the locker rooms and the guys and the personalities, and you know, the willingness to live on the edge. Like there was a lot of players that I was around that just brought a ton of humor, and I won't mention his name, but he was one, and that day will forever be sketched in my mind.
That's great. I hope the sketch isn't too prominent. You know what I mean? But yeah, like the Dion quote and whatnot. I mean, those are things that, like, you know, we all have friends or buddies or close circles. In your case, it was literally, you know, NFL teammates. But that you remember those things, you remember those memories, you remember those times. You, I think, are aware that your opinion, like your teammates who you shared the field with, shared the locker room with, carries serious weight, especially given the way the circumstances around the team, to put it as lightly as possible. And I don't want to put you in a spot where you say something that, because again, the current landscape of media is what it is. You're well aware of that as well. But what are the drought is now 30 years old. You all lifted the trophy at Super Bowl 30. It's been literally that exact same amount of time. If you had to explain it in an elevator pitch sort of way, what goes wrong? Is it just bad coincidences? Is there a common denominator? Is it some combination of both? Like, how does Darren Woodson view the now 30-year-old drought?
Look, it's you can't put your thumb on it. I really can't. Look, the easy blame is always blame ownership and the leadership, and that is the blame. But I can also look at over the years, and this is Bill Parcells used to say, "Hey, you are what you are," and for 30 years, this team's been what it is. So there's no excuses here, but there's been some really good football teams. Tony Romo led a couple of teams that had a chance to get to the Super Bowl. They were Super Bowl worthy teams that had a ton of talent on both sides of the ball. They couldn't get the job done, just couldn't close it. Dak Prescott's another one who's had a couple of teams that have been fully loaded, capable of winning an NFL championship, couldn't get the job done. And, again, you take shots at Jerry, we all do, including self. We take shots at Jerry and the organization, the leadership, but you also got to give them credit. They have put some of the teams on the field that could absolutely shoot for a championship, and they still didn't get the job done. So I can't put my thumb on it. They just can't. They haven't had the ability to close, and that's something that you got to teach. That's something that's innate in built into a culture. And we had guys in leadership, and Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin and Charles Haley. We had a lot of guys that had a championship mindset, and I'm not sure if they've had that caliber. They've had the great talent, but I'm not sure if they've had that caliber of a person that had that kind of drive to get to the promised land.
I think that's well said. I often say that they've had like their 5 worst days on the worst possible 5 days that they could have had them over the last 30 years. My last few questions, Darren, I mentioned I'm a Sun Devil alumni, and I love what you talked about with developing a culture. There's something you have to go through and grow and develop and whatnot to become those dudes. And it does seem like Kenny Dillingham is building that. And it was super easy to get excited about something a year ago after the Peach Bowl loss. We're actually speaking on the eve of the Peach Bowl this year. And then this year, I think some could argue that it was a disappointing year, but we have seen them reload. We have seen Graham Rossini and Kenny Dillingham just really attack things in the transfer portal right now. Yeah. And it feels like they are building those qualities that you talked about to where they can survive maybe the new landscape of college football, however you want to look at that. But my point is, I'm very excited, and that I could talk about this with you is very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Coach Dillingham's done a great job. Look, I mean, the elephant in the room at Arizona State is there's not enough money. There's not enough booster support and that pour into the athletic program, which has become that, right? Around the country, it has been about the dollar. And just ask Texas Tech and how they built their program in the last year. So they're not as funded. The school is not as funded as they would like to be, but you got to give Coach Dillingham a lot of credit because he's selling the value of what the education's about and playing for Arizona State and what that looks like. And he's selling that to a lot of kids around the country that have no idea about the school or Arizona State. So I give him a ton of credit because he's working with some things, like he's doing some things at that school that have never been done before. And he's in the uncharted waters, but every year they find a way. They lose guys, they bring guys in, and he's at the forefront of that. So, kudos to the Sun Devils and what they're doing. But, Coach Dillingham will be the first one to tell you last year wasn't the year that he wanted. They'll bounce back this year.
I love that. Forks up all the way, Darren. Really appreciate the time and appreciate what you're doing with regards to raising awareness around cancer in general, certainly lung cancer. You again, I think about Kenny Dillingham, and he's such a great story. He's an ASU guy. He's leading the program. But I think about someone like you, and I think you're someone that makes being a Dallas Cowboys fan as fun as it can be because you win championships, you do all these things, and everyone's rooting for you, obviously, individually and what you have going on. But you use your platform in the best way possible. You're a fan's dream. And so thank you for always being that throughout the course of your after career.
I appreciate that. It means a lot. Thanks.
Darren, thank you so much.